Hey, hello everyone. I'm David Guerrero, and welcome back to another video here on Many Ways Films. Alright, in the video of today, I want to talk about how the Nikon Z8 compares to the Nikon Z6 II, especially for wedding photography. Lately, I've had a couple of wedding events, and by a couple I mean they've been quite a lot. At least for me, I'm used to having maybe one or two wedding events a month. I get asked to do wedding pictures and or video. The next thing that I'm about to say, it's just me being honest. I don't love doing wedding photography or wedding video. I do enjoy it, and I find it exciting. I find it exciting, or it's something that I enjoy doing, but it's not something that I love doing. And don't take me wrong, I love photography and I love videography. I love both editing pictures and videos, and making videos, and taking pictures, especially for my personal projects, is one of the things that brings a lot of happiness into my life. This started as a hobby. I started with pictures and video when I was in middle school. I guess that was seventh, eighth grade. The latest when I started, I'm pretty sure it was on the seventh grade when I started with like pictures and video. That's another story that I'll talk about in another video. But the point here is that both pictures and video is not something that I do out of trying to make money out of it. But you have to understand, and I have to understand, that if you want to keep following your passion, if you want to keep following this career, or make it a career, or whatever you want to do, but you want to keep doing what you love, in this case pictures or video, you're gonna have to make money out of it. If not, you're not gonna be able to keep doing it for long, unless you have a really good job that allows you to buy cameras, or just have the time to go out and do it. But anyway, weddings are the best place to really put out there your talent, and also challenge yourself. See how far can you go. Try different things. Really, for me, weddings, every wedding, it's a different experience, different light settings. There's different types of people, personalities, and situations overall. And that includes maybe a sunny day, maybe a rainy day. It could be a cloudy day, or it just could be a day where it's very windy. So you have to always sort of improvise. When you already are familiar with certain situations, there's not a lot of improv that you have to do in these situations. But still, there's a lot of challenges that come in every wedding that you can't always expect. There's certain things that you can expect, like delays, or people maybe not being in the spot that you thought, or just people blocking you for certain shots, or things that may happen even with your gear, your camera, and all of that. But you have to have that context in mind before I go into this following part of the video on how does the Z8 or the Nikon Z6 II compare to the Z8. Even that both are Nikon cameras and both are great hybrid cameras, in my opinion. I can do pictures and video, and both great. They're very different cameras. I think that, and I'll give you my final thoughts on the middle of the video. It doesn't matter really what gear you have. You have to have in mind that both of them are tools that can make your job easier, like tools that you can use to, I don't know, maybe hang a picture on the wall. One camera might be way better for a certain situation like sports photography or wedding photography or video or documentary, while the other one could be really good for, I don't know, journalism, wedding photography, portraits, or sports photography. You get the idea. Both of them do great video. The Nikon Z8 has higher capabilities, so you have 45 megapixels on the Nikon Z8, where you have 24 half the megapixels on the Nikon Z6 II, and both of them are full frame cameras. The Nikon Z8 being 45 megapixel camera, while the Nikon Z6 II, it's a 24 megapixel camera. Also, this one, I think it's pretty obvious. The body and the weight of the cameras are very different. I think that the Nikon Z6 II, it's a very, very lightweight camera. So the Nikon Z8, it's a pretty average camera when it comes to the weight. I feel like if you compare it to like Sony cameras, where they are usually really light cameras and small cameras, the Nikon Z8 will be a very different experience, and you will feel like you have a really big camera. But if you compare it to pretty much any Canon full frame professional camera, it's gonna be on a very similar size and weight. And for me, this one is really important when it comes to video. The Nikon Z8 has a much better image quality than the Nikon Z6 II. Have in mind that this is something that people are not gonna really notice, especially if they're watching on their phones or a small device, a small TV or display. But if they're watching in a big TV, they're trying to see the best out of this camera and look at the details. People are gonna notice, especially if you're doing a comparison. You can tell. Have in mind that I love the image quality out of the Nikon Z6 II. If I was gonna go on a trip and I could just take a camera, I still think I would just take the Nikon Z6 II. I feel like it's better just for traveling and, you know, having a smaller setup, while the Nikon Z8, it's obviously bigger. And I feel, going into the next part of the video, I feel like the build quality out of the Nikon Z6 II, it's a tiny bit better than the Nikon Z8. I know that they have different materials. I don't know exactly what those are, and I don't really care. The Nikon Z8, it's supposed to have really good build quality and weather sealed as the Nikon Z6 II, so nothing to worry there. I've used the Nikon Z8 on a very rainy day on a wedding, and I didn't have any problems. There was that day on the last wedding I did, which was like 2 weeks ago. There were other photographers and videographers, and they had plastic bags on their cameras. And well, I get it and I understand. I'm not gonna say necessarily which cameras they had, but they were professional cameras from other brands, and in my opinion, that just looked kind of silly, or not necessarily like super professional. Well, having a Nikon Z8 and not caring at all, I felt really cool about it, and people were looking at me like concerned about my camera. I trust Nikon to that point. Maybe I shouldn't, maybe, but I do. And I've had Nikon cameras for a long time, especially very nice weather sealed cameras like the Nikon D7500, D850, C6, C6 II, and now with the Nikon Z8, which are nice weather sealed cameras, and I trust it. So again, going into differences with these cameras, you have way better dynamic range when it comes to video with the Nikon Z8. But I want to move out away from the specs of these cameras, and I want to go a little bit more on my experience. Every wedding I go, I take both of these cameras. I use the Nikon Z8 specifically for video, while I use the Nikon Z6 II for photography. And there's gonna be a lot of people who are gonna think that I'm crazy for doing it this way, or using these two cameras in this specific order, being the Nikon Z8 for video, since the Nikon Z8, it's a higher megapixel camera. But I don't care too much about megapixels. I don't care about cropping. I don't like cropping my pictures. I like to make them just a little bit straighter, just a little bit. I don't get crazy crooked pictures, so that's not a concern for me. So it's just a very, very minimum how much I need to edit those pictures to have them straight or however I want 'em. If that's an issue, like that's one problem that you have, I suggest practicing so you don't have to buy a higher camera so you can crop in, or just get or like distance and wanting to crop to get closer, it's an issue for you. Maybe I would don't spend the extra $2,000 on a Nikon Z8 and I will get a nicer lens like a 70-200 or something like that. That's just something to have in mind. Like I said from the beginning, the Nikon Z8, it's a heavier camera. I borrow it to my assistant, my cousin Beto, to do the video part sometimes while I'm doing specific photography that I feel like I have to be doing, and vice versa. And he's told me like he gets tired from holding the Nikon Z8 while he feels like he's holding a feather with the Nikon Z6 II. And I think it depends on what type of person you have, or how comfortable you are with a heavier camera. Adding that much weight or little bit of weight, depending again on your situation, can make a huge difference on that wedding day or whatever you're photographing. Because carrying a backpack sometimes, or whatever you're carrying, and on top of that having a heavy setup like a Nikon Z8, and again for me it's not a heavy setup, but when you compare it to the Nikon Z6 II, it could be for some people. So you have to have that in mind. Again, I feel like you have more versatility. You have more options with the Nikon Z8. With the Nikon Z6 II, you're limited on the video side of it, but when it comes to photography, I feel like this is a really nice camera and has enough power to do what you need to do on a wedding day. I think this is one that people are always really interested. I feel like the Nikon Z8 has an excellent autofocus. I don't know how much better it can get from this on photography cameras. I am just blown on how good it is and how good it handles in every situation. It doesn't matter how bright the day or how dark the night is. I feel like this camera handles very well. And the Nikon Z6 II, it's also a great camera. I definitely feel like the autofocus out of the Z8, it's better. I would lie if I would tell you different, but it's not the one out of the Z6 II is not one that I feel like would ruin your photography or your video experience, or would mess up with your project. And obviously you don't want to mess with the moment, you don't want to screw and all that. In my personal experience, I don't have issues with the autofocus with the Nikon Z6 II, but it definitely makes it easier with the Nikon Z8. So just have those things in mind. Again, this is just my experience. I love both cameras. I feel like both of them are great for different situations and scenarios. If I had to recommend you one for wedding photography specifically, I would definitely just say the Z8. I'm not gonna lie, it's a better camera, but I'm happy with either one of them. When I'm out there working with these cameras, I don't feel like, dang, now it's the turn for the Z6 II. No, like I have a use for it, and it makes it easier when you're editing those big files, those pictures. It's way easier. It works better for me to have a lower megapixel on wedding days than have a higher megapixel. I also like, maybe this is an unpopular opinion, but I like the look that the Nikon Z6 II has, picture-wise, photography-wise, than with the Nikon Z8. I feel like it doesn't necessarily have nicer colors or technology or whatever. I just like the look out of it, if that makes any sense. I don't have anything to compare it necessarily to show you one picture of the other, but I just like it better. Both of them are great cameras. If you're debating between which one, um, honestly, and in video it's important to you, I would just get the Nikon CF. That's it for the video of today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, let me know, and don't forget to subscribe. Again, that really helps me, motivates me, and helps to grow this channel. I enjoy photography. I enjoy so much wedding photography. Like I said at the beginning, it's maybe not my favorite side of the photography world or video world, but it's fun, and I find it very rewarding. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.